What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about Scarlet and Violet era booster boxes and a couple other things, starting with SV base. This box, like every other SV era box, was up this week in terms of market price on TCG Player. When I look at the secondary market data, the total amount of days of inventory remaining was down slightly this week, which is a good sign. I think most boxes in my spreadsheet were actually down, I think, outside of like surging and maybe one other one, which we'll get to here in a second. But SV base, it's doing its thing. It's constantly moving up, which is great. And I still think that there is potential for this box, like most of these Scarlet and Violet era boxes, to get to $300 by the end of the year. Now, after that, Paldea Evolve, definitely the big one right now, up to around 430 on TCG Player. We can look at the 1-year chart here, just constantly moving up, 430, 373. Updated price today. And if you come in here, most recent sales, pretty much 446, 447 across the board over the past few days. Paldea Evolved, a lot of the cards aren't really doing anything super crazy now. Obviously, the Magikarp did make a run back up, but it's kind of losing a bit of steam around this like 270-ish range. Most of the recent sales are actually closer to $240 over the past couple days. Now, after that, Obsidian Flames, this is a box that has absolutely exploded over the past couple weeks. It kind of makes sense. In the spreadsheet, a lot of the other boxes had above 40 or 50 days of inventory remaining. Obsidian Flames was one of only 2 boxes with Stellar Crown that had below 15 days remaining. So it makes sense that it just went through this rapid growth phase over the past couple weeks. Maybe it slows down, maybe it doesn't. When I look at the data, there aren't a ton of boxes out there, and sell-through rate was still very strong this week. Now, again, that could change at any time. If a seller like Hobbiesville or anyone else, for that matter, puts up a few cases, they want to take some profits, it could slow it down. But Obsidian Flames, it wouldn't surprise me if we have this conversation a week from now and it's up to like $330. Obviously, a lot of this has to do as well with the Charizard EX basically doubling in price. It's now up to around $125. I think recent sales are still in that range. You have some hard played and some light played ones selling for less, but the near mints are still selling in that 125-ish area. Now up next, we have Paradox Rift. Again, this is another box that's slowly moving up. I think Paradox Rift, there was a little bit more inventory remaining in terms of total days before we see a large leg up in price. I think a lot of that had to do with just the sales volume coming down this week compared to last week. I think the total amount of boxes listed was about the same. Temporal Forces, about the same situation, not doing anything too crazy. I think the total sales volume was up on Temporal Forces this week. For a lot of boxes, it was up. For a couple, it was down, which we'll get to here in a second. But Temporal Forces just doing its thing, continually moving up. And again, I think this is a box that could get to $300 by the end of the year. Twilight is obviously already at $300, sitting around $301 right now. It's kind of in an interesting spot because I would expect Twilight to probably go on a run here shortly, but with all the Twilight Masquerade ETBs hitting the market, if you guys go look at the regular ETB price, it went from like $97, $98. We're now down to like $67. So a lot of those ETBs were printed and pushed onto the market. So we're gonna have to wait and see with Twilight, but it's holding strong around $300. After that, Stellar Crown, it's still in a range where it could move up fairly rapidly. I don't know if that's gonna happen. Stellar Crown is kind of giving me Astral Radiance vibes of the SV era in the sense that it doesn't have as much inventory out there compared to some of these other sets, but it's just not as popular. There's nothing crazy inside of it. I mean, did I bring up the card list? You can see Squirtle and Bulbasaur, they're doing all right, $62, $63, and $55, but after that, Terapagos is sub 40 now. The Dash Bun SIR is sub 30. Then you have Lacy, Hydrapple. It really just doesn't have anything crazy. It's not a super popular set, and I think for that reason, even though there isn't a ton of supply out there, I don't think we're ever going to see it move at the rate some of these boxes like Paldea Evolved and Obsidian Flames are moving at. Now, with that said, if all these other boxes are getting to $300 by the end of the year, I think it's still possible that Stellar Crown will be in that group. Now, after that, Surging Sparks. Surging definitely took a step back this week. Last week, the sales volume was very high. The amount of boxes listed was slowly moving down. This week, complete opposite story. A lot more boxes out there. Sales volume was way down on this. We're gonna have to wait and see. I think part of this does have to do with all the surging ETBs and bundles at Costco hitting the market. There's a ton of them. If you go look at Soul, it's just absolutely flooding everything. So if some people want to get Surging Sparks, it would make sense why they're not buying the booster boxes right now. rip and shippers. I mean, why would you buy these? You're probably getting a better price per pack if you buy those Costco bundles. That said, I'm still very bullish on Surging Sparks, and I do still think it could hit $300 a booster box by the end of the year. Now, a couple more booster boxes here, stringing together, not doing anything super exciting. It's kind of battling with SV Base to be the cheapest booster box in the Scarlet and Violet era. Stringing together, I mean, nothing crazy in terms of hits. You guys already know you have the Salamence, the Liz Clefairy, whatever. You probably heard my spiel about 50 times at this point. I just don't think it's a great set. And I think the market in general now agrees it's not a great set. You have all these UPCs coming out, and even Pokemon's trying to just stuff as much string together as they can into them. It's kind of funny, but it'll keep doing its thing. If you want to get a little exposure to the enhanced version and the non-enhanced version, just in case when reprints come, we only get one or the other, that's absolutely fine to do, but I wouldn't go crazy into it. And then finally, Destined Rivals, which I think a lot of you guys are curious about. And I will share a little bit more information about Destined than I normally do of these other sets. And again, if you're in the spreadsheet, you can go look at all the numbers. Destined Rivals was the best-selling booster box from the entire SV era this week on the secondary market when we look at sales volume. And the sales volume was 40% higher than the second highest booster box, which is insane because this is a booster box that's selling for about $350, $360 now. Most recent sales are still in that range over the past 24 hours. And I think this is going to continue until we get more booster boxes, and even the top hits, until we get more product in general, these are going to continue climbing. You can see here the Team Rocket's Mewtwo, if we do the 3-month chart here, after release, it did come down from around 400 to 340, but over the past month, it's definitely rebounded back into that 370 range. The Cynthia's Garchomp is in the same boat. This one's actually up almost 10% over the past month, sitting around $230. Ethan's Ho is now up to around 180, 185, same deal, up 23%. Now, the Team Rocket's Moltres, when the UPC was announced, I made a video on it. I had a couple people in the comments saying that that announcement having the stamped promo wasn't going to influence the price of this card. It definitely has influenced the price of this card. We're up to around $180. We're now back down to around 130, 135, 140 maybe even. Maybe this changes. Maybe it rebounds all the way back up to around 180. But clearly some people were a bit nervous about that stamped card being in the UPC. And a couple more here that I just want to show you guys. Team Rocket's Nidoking. Even this card is holding around $100, $105. So this is just to illustrate that there's still a ton of depth in Destined Rivals, even if the Moltres falls off a little bit, even if some of these top cards are going to fall off a little bit once we get more product on the market. It clearly is the deepest booster box set of the Scarlet and Violet era. And ultimately, the only question you need to ask and answer for yourself is, how much exposure do you want to Destined Rivals, and at what price are you going to pick it up at? Now, the final thing I want to touch on this video, and I know I do a UPC update, but it's not going to be for another week in the spreadsheet. The 151 UPC, and I'm sure some of you guys have seen this, it's on a run again. We're now back up to around $600-ish on TCG Player. You can see recent sales, 598, 564, 580, $600. It's in that range, and a lot of that does have to do with the promos increasing again. Obviously, 151 in general is just popping off, but these promo cards were targeted again, over the past couple weeks. The Mew EX Metal card is up to around $15 raw. The Mewtwo is now back up to around $38. And then the Mew EX, this was up the most, 92.24% over the past month, sitting around $70 currently. I think at its high, it was around 90-ish USD. I think we might have to do a dedicated video on 151 here shortly, just because a lot of the product that I'm seeing in Canada is drying up. I talked about that yesterday. Even the ETBs, a couple stores here had them at $430. And I said in yesterday's video, one of those stores had actually moved their price up. This other store that I was tracking today moved their price from 430 Canadian all the way up to 500 Canadian. So every single day, there's less and less of it on the market, and stores that do have some in stock still are constantly moving their price points up. That is a conversation for another day. If you guys got some value of this content, I'd really appreciate if you'd leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, helps out a ton. Leave a comment down below for the algorithm. With all that said, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one.